In today's video, I will be going over every single augment that I think you should be using on your perks inside of Black Ops 6 Zombies. Now, the main point that I'm going to try to say at the beginning of the video is this is in my opinion. You can completely use whatever you want. I know that there will be some kind of comments that will go after my choices, but honestly, this is just from an average player like myself to you guys, and you can either be a professional at this stuff and understand it completely, or you could just be a person that can take my recommendations if you wish. I'm just trying to share my personal opinion as I have reviewed every single perk augment on Black Ops 6 Zombies. So if you want to check out like a full in-depth video on every single one of them, there is a playlist on the channel. I will have a link down in the comments section if you just want to check it out yourself. And also, before we fully get into it, be sure to subscribe. We're on the goal to hitting 50,000 subscribers, which we are getting closer and closer to every single day. And also a like would be very much appreciated, as that does really help out the channel. But without further ado, let's get right into our first one, and it is Jugger-Nog. Now, one thing I will also specify is I will not be going over these in intense detail. I'll just be telling you which one, why, and then move on forward, so we don't make this video too long as it is. For Jugger-Nog in the major augments, I do have a choice of two that I recommend for you to use. Turtle Shell is currently bugged out, so the first one is probiotic. The reason for this is because it's going to increase your health up to 300, which is of course the thing that we want the most, but also reactive armor is pretty good because this will allow you to almost get an effect of like Widow's Wine inside of your game, which is absolutely incredible in my opinion, because it will get you out of some really intense spots like it did myself. I have made a short about this, and a lot of people have their own opinions about this, so if you don't want to use it, then don't. Probiotic is incredible because it does give you 300 health. And for minor augments, there's only one that I recommend for you to use, and that is hardened plates, because this one is described as armor plates have more damage mitigation. If you don't know what damage mitigation means, essentially your armor plates will be the first thing that takes health down. Instead of you running around and your health and armor getting taken down both at the same time, this will mean that your armor will be the first thing gone straight away, which is definitely what you want. I don't know why that isn't a default thing in here. Well, probably because they want it as an augment. Now, moving on to Stamin up, there's only one major augment that I personally recommend for you to use, and that is Dasher. It will increase the amount of time that you have tactical sprint duration. So essentially, when I tested this out, I noticed it's around 5 seconds without this if you use tactical sprint, and it can go up to 10 seconds if you have it equipped. This is just great because obviously you want to have as much movement inside of Black Ops 6 Zombies, and this is just going to make that incredibly good and fast to get around the map. And as for the minor augment, the best one to use here is Hotfoot. Gain a speed boost after your equipment kills an enemy. Your equipment is specifically your lethals. There was a lot of confusion before, but it's just your lethals or tacticals, but it's kind of more difficult to get a tactical kill unless you use a monkey bomb or a Gersh device. But basically, if you get a kill, you'll be able to sprint even further and for a longer amount of time, super far away, which again just adds on to the movement of the map, which is just freaking awesome. Next, we have Speed Cola. For this one, I have also two major augments that I would recommend for you to use. The first one is Supercharge. This one will just give your field upgrade back to you faster. So if you have a lot of concentration on your actual field upgrade, this one is great to use just because it will replenish faster. It's pretty self-explanatory. Or Classic Formula, because this one really increases the speed that you have on reloading your guns, which is definitely something that you might want if you're using like an LMG or a gun that just has an excessively long amount of time to reload, or just overall if you like the idea of being able to reload quickly and then get back into shooting as fast as you can. So that's why I kind of couldn't choose between these two. It really does depend on your preferences, but these are two awesome major augments. And as for the minor one, the best one in my opinion is Quick Swap. You just get to swap between your weapons really fast, which is just great because like if you're running around with two weapons or even a melee weapon, you can switch between them really quickly. And just overall, I think Speed Cola is just an awesome perk to always have, because not only does it reload your weapons faster, but also it allows you to replate your armor faster. For Deadshot Daiquiri, I also have two different augments that I recommend for you to use on major augments. The first one is Dead Head, further increased critical damage. From what people have pointed out to me, it's around a 5% increase. In my in-depth review, I did discover that it does get better and better the higher like rarities that you have. On the lower levels and pack-a-punching of your weapon, for some odd reason the difference isn't too intense, but then when you compare it to Pack-a-Punch 3 and gold rarity and no Dead Head augment, and then comparing it with the Dead Head augment, there is a pretty big difference. It's personally the one that I use the most. And the other major augment that I guess I would recommend for you to use is Dead First. Deal double critical damage if an enemy is at full health. The reason I wouldn't really always use this one is because it does rely on the full health bit, whereas Dead Head is just overall an increase to critical headshots. And as for your minor augment, the main one that I recommend for you to use is Dead Break, because it just destroys armor more, or just overall increases the damage that it does to the armor plates on zombies. This includes manglers, which is just great because overall manglers are such a pain in the ass, especially in the higher rounds. So this is one that I would consider using if I were you. Moving over to Quick Revive, again in major augments there are two that I would consider to choose from if I were you. One thing I do need to point out with Quick Revive is a bit of a complicated perk, because this one can either work amazing if you're a solo player, or it could just just work amazing if you're playing with other players. So the ones that I will be going over are specifically solo concentrated, but they also do work if you're playing with others because, well, you can just rescue yourself. Because the first one that I want to talk about is equivalent exchange. Long story short, whenever you go down and you kill a zombie with whatever gun you have when you're down, you'll be able to revive yourself. It can only work up to 3 times. There was a bug in the past, if you're wondering, that allowed you to have way more of these basically every single time you save and quit, but this has been since nerfed, so it doesn't work anymore, and it is only 3 uses no matter what you do. And the other one, which is my personal favorite, is called Dying Wish. If you've never heard of Dying Wish, it's perfectly described in this game. On lethal damage, you become immune to all damage for 2 seconds and keep 1 health, and then quick revive is completely removed from your perk slot and you have to rebuy it. It only does work up to 3 times. These are just great to have overall. And as for your minor augment, I would actually choose between 2 different ones. Swift recovery allows you to, when you get revived or revive a teammate, you'll be able to run faster. The reason I would also recommend this for solo players is because it does work when you revive yourself. You get to just run away quicker from the zombies. This one would also depend on the situation because zombies usually do get distracted by like other things. They don't surround you, whereas if you're reviving a teammate, they will start probably running after you straight away. So maybe the other one that I recommend for you to use is just solo death. Increase your time in the last stand. That's basically when you're down and you're waiting until your perks go down and you want to self-revive yourself or get revived by someone. This one's pretty good to use. Moving over to elemental pop, the first one that I would recommend for you to use in major augments, because once again we have 2 different ones that I would recommend, is citrus focus. The reason for this is because it's just going to be activating the ammo mod that you have on your weapon only, so it won't be doing the elemental pop thing that it's supposed to do. The reason I think this is good is because some of the minor augments are really good to combine with this, but the other major augment that I want to recommend for you to use is electric cherry. Long story short, whenever you reload your weapon, you will be creating electric like discharge around you, and then depending on how much ammo you have in your magazine, the damage of that electric field will be increased, so zombies can get electrocuted by it, and again it just increases with the less ammo that you have in it. It's pretty good, but citrus focus I kind of prefer sometimes. And as for the minor augments, I'd kind of recommend 2 again, and this is kind of surprising because I think elemental pop has some of the best augments inside of the game. The first one is Vulnera Bean, slightly increase enemy elemental weakness damage. This one's great because again, why not just increase the amount of damage that you deal with elemental pop. Or Chillberry, slightly reduce all ammo mod cooldowns. I think this one is just great to use because if you're trying to use specific ammo mods, like for example Shadow Rift with the big game augment can insta-kill an abomination inside of the game right now, so having that one will just make it faster to become more effective inside of the game. So that is why I think you should choose either between Vulnera Bean or Chillberry. Moving over to PhD Flopper, once again 2 different ones that I recommend for you to use. Either DR Ram, which is my personal favorite one to use. This essentially means that whenever you tactical sprint, you will be knocking down enemies in front of you, or well, zombies. This doesn't include manglers or the elite zombies like the abomination or the amalgam, but the reason this is great is because if you're training and you're training in a spot that might be really difficult to get around, the fact that you can just knock back the zombies and not worry about them is great. But the other one that I think is awesome is PhD Slider. Essentially just kind of like adds on the PhD Slider effect to PhD Flopper. If you don't know, you just get to slide into zombies and explode them, which is really great. Sliding in this game is another really good way of moving around, so this just kind of like makes sliding even more effective, which you can even make it better with the one minor augment that I recommend for you to use, and that is Tribologist, which I hope I pronounced correctly. This increases your sliding distance, and the reason this is great is because this just adds on again to the just whole idea of being able to get around the map faster. You can make some crazy jumps inside of the game with this, and it just made PhD Flopper like one of the most essential perks that I always run whenever I'm just playing the game. Like it's one of the first ones that I buy with Quick Revive, PhD, and Stamina. And now moving over to our last perk, Melee Macchiato, and there's honestly just kind of one that I would recommend for you to use, and that is Espresso. All melee attacks are slightly faster because if you combine this for high rounding with Ether Shroud, it's pretty great, but maybe Vampiric Extraction is pretty good. Melee attacks heal a small amount of your health. It really does depend with this one if you're planning to use your melee weapons a lot. And as for the minor augment, Hidden Impact is pretty great because again, if you go for high rounds and combine it with Ether Shroud, the description says melee kills reload a portion of your held weapon, which is again pretty great for high rounding overall. So that is the one that I would personally recommend for you to just have on by default. But honestly, Melee Macchiato is such a perk that really just applies to if you are using a melee weapon for that game. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the video. This was just a really quick breakdown of all of the minor and major augments on the perks, the ones that I would recommend for you to use. Again, if you want to see just a full in-depth, at least as best as I can, in-depth review, then definitely be sure to check out other videos on this channel or the playlist. I've still yet to review all of the ammo mods and all the field upgrades, so that is something that I'm currently working on. I will be making basically a similar video for both of those whenever I get around to fully completing them and just getting a better understanding and recommending them to you. But honestly, perks are like the most vital thing inside of the game, so that's why I wanted to make this video, just so you can jump with the timestamps to whatever point that you want want to understand which one to use. And again, remember, it is your own personal opinion which one you want. If you disagree with me, that is completely understandable. I don't want a repeat of that short because that was some insane stuff. I just like using reactive armor. Some people are brutal on this freaking website. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe. 50k, here we come. Peace out.